I'm reading Jim Cramer's book, and that you can make money in any stock market. And I would agree with him. I don't agree with him on exactly how to go about it. I'm only on chapter 4, so I've got 7 hours more of the book to read. But I agree with there's only two ways you can really become wealthy in this world today. And one is to be an entrepreneur and create a company that grows exponentially and makes you extremely wealthy, makes you a multimillionaire, and maybe even a billionaire. The only other way to get wealthy in this world is to invest in other people who do just that. And they are available to you through the stock market. You can invest in Jeff Bezos, you can invest in Mark Zuckerberg, and you can invest in Elon Musk. The trick is to find them before their price of their stocks get outrageous. Now, Jim has a theory that most people aren't smart enough to find the next Amazon, the next Google, the next Netflix. And so what you should do is invest in an index based on your age. If you're old and reaching the end, you might want to be in the Dow index. If you're approaching retirement, maybe you want to be in the S&P. And if you're younger, you might want to be in the NASDAQ 100. And he said that should be your core portfolio. But he also says you'll never get rich doing that. You'll just maintain a status quo. And then what he says is that he's going to teach me later in the book is how to recognize the FANGs, the Magnificent Seven, so that of the future, so that you can outperform the S&P 500, which again is the core of your portfolio, and that will give you a chance to build wealth. I disagree with the one premise that you aren't smart enough, and there's no way for you to be smart enough to compete with Goldman Sachs or J.P. Morgan, who only want to deal with the wealthy. He tells a very interesting story about his wife, who was in real estate, accumulated some money, and because he used to work for Goldman Sachs, she had an account at Goldman Sachs, and she got her account up to $100,000. And her advisor, her wealth advisor from Goldman Sachs, called her up and said that we don't want your money. We can't make money on someone who only has $100,000. I'll assign you to a clerk if you'd like, but otherwise take your money somewhere else. And that's the truth of it. That the big institutions who spend a lot of money learning what stocks are going to be the future behemoths don't want you and I's money because they can't make enough money on it. I mean, let's face it. If you and you have $500,000 and I go in and let's say I have 50 million, who do they want to work with? Well, they want to work with the $50 million guy because they charge a percentage, and that same percentage on your 500,000 and my 50 million it's a no-brainer. They don't want you. So it's basically you will get involved with a financial advisor. He puts you in mutual funds or ETFs, and he collects a trailer, what they call on it, and that's how they make their money. And they sit down with you maybe once a year to give you a status quo, but their real emphasis is going out and finding more money, and particularly if they can find the whales. So his premise is you've got to find 5 to 6 stocks to supplement your index fund so that you can accumulate some level of wealth. And then you just have to get into the habit of investing something every week, every month, so that it builds. And if you can get some stocks that pay you dividends and reinvest those dividends, you will eventually become a millionaire if you start young enough in your life. Well, I'm 81 years old, so Jim, I don't have enough time. I've got to learn how to pick stocks, and that's what I've done. When Jensen Wong told me I needed an AI agent and I would be able to have one, well, I went out and built two of them. One of them researches the stocks for me and says, Kerry, these are the stocks who meet your parameters of what a growth company looks like. Give them to Samantha, that's my second AI agent, and have her analyze them such that under the parameters that you set up of what a growth company looks like, and give her the power to predict for you what the price of the stock is going to be. And as a result of that, and I've only got really 6 months of pure work out of Samantha and Bard, my portfolio is up over 100%. And to those people who are in my tribe, some of them are even more selective than I am, and their portfolio is up even higher than that. I have a number of people who tell me, Kerry, because of your stock picking capabilities, I make now more in my stock market than I do in my job. I had one guy, Ralph, tell me that he actually makes more in a day than he does annually in his job. And that's possible. If you got a big enough base, like yesterday, I made 3% on my portfolio. Well, if you got $1 million, that's $30,000 that you made on your portfolio. If you got 2 million, that's 60,000 you made in one day. And is it possible you got 2 million and you've been a good shepherd and put money aside? Yeah. And as Ralph said, he's 70 years old and he's got enough that he's making more in a day than he does in his day job. So that being said, I would say to Jim, I agree with everything you say, that the only route to wealth is through the stock market. But I disagree with you, Jim, on that I'm not smart enough and Ralph's not smart enough to put our heads together. I access AI and I share with him what Samantha tells me, and he makes more in a day than he does on his day job. That's all possible. And Jim, what Jim's book is telling me is that Jim doesn't know how to use AI. Even though he has worked in the industry since he said he got out of law school, I believe he said it was sometime in the 80s, he does not know how to write a prompt with ChatGPT to tell him what stocks to buy. That's my takeaway from the book. Now, as I say, I'm only on chapter 4, and so when I told my tribe members on Friday that I was reading Jim's book, the comments came back, well, you're wasting your time because the only thing that you should do relative to Jim Cramer is do the opposite of what he's doing. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I would recommend Jim Cramer's book into chapter 4 to anyone who is interested in investing in the stock market. His premise is excellent. He explains how he learned about investing through his father. And his father was in the paper goods business, and they bought paper goods from this guy who took Jim under his wing. And this guy said, and I think Jim was back in the 70s, every week this guy bought as many shares of Merck as he could. And it became a multi-millionaire because Merck just kept growing, and it reinvested his dividends, and so he never touched it. And the story is a good story for anybody who wants to. I think I would say anybody who wants to become wealthy and doesn't have the entrepreneurial spirit. There is only one choice, and that is investing in other entrepreneurs who know how to build a growth business. And those entrepreneurs are available to you through the stock market. Now what I suggest you do is either learn how to write a prompt for ChatGPT and build your own Samantha and your own Bart, and you can become a multimillionaire. It's happening to me, and it's happening to my tribe members. So The long and short is, if you are considering investing in the stock market, read Jim Cramer's book. And if you want to become a multi-millionaire and maybe a billionaire, join our tribe, or learn to write your own prompt and become your own stock picker. I'm Kerry Greencomb. I'm a retired financial advisor. I wish I was 20 years old. If I were 20 years old, I have no doubt in my mind I could become a billionaire in very short order. It is a money machine if you know how to use ChatGPT to tell you who are the growth companies, who are the next Netflix, Google's, Amazon, Microsoft, and Tesla's. If you can learn how to do what I'm doing, please go learn how to do it. Whatever field you're in. I mean, this is not just the field of investing. This is in anything you want to do. I was having breakfast with several people this morning, and they said, "How is this going to change the world?" And I said, "Well, the University of Alabama is going to be a trade school and a football team. There is no reason on this earth why anybody should go to any university when they can learn from people on the internet on how to be successful in a business, how to be an entrepreneur." I mean, if you had a choice and to go and learn entrepreneurship from some dude who shows up every day in a classroom and teaches you how to become an entrepreneur, even though he's not an entrepreneur, or an online course taught by Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and whomever else, which would you choose? And one of them is going to cost you $30,000 a year, and the other one's going to cost you $300 a month for 3 months. Which would you choose? Well, that's where we're going, folks. So be ready to buy some good real estate on university campuses, because they're going to turn into trade schools, and many of them are going to close. Particularly those who charge $50,000 a year for a degree in business. No, it's not going to happen. The world's changing. So give Jim Cramer his due. He's a smart guy. And if you'll read that book, you'll become a much smarter guy or gal.